doors that Bob and Doug are going to be walking out in just a minute. But first, we want to pause to honor today's efforts with our national anthem and the incomparable And any moment now, we are going to see Bob and Doug walking out. We're looking at the pad right now, but you guys, that just gave me chills listening to that. And we saw them getting into the elevator, so they're making their way down to the first floor where they're going to be walking out of those doors any moment now.
Just so exciting to think, back in 11 years ago when I was going down that elevator and about to walk out those doors, it just brings back these memories of getting human beings to space, working together as a team, and having this entire community around you helping you get off the planet.
Yeah, and Leland, I know you have a really cool memory about somebody special that you saw when you walked out of those doors.
Oh my goodness, Marie, when I walked out of those doors, my chemistry teacher was right there from high school, who inspired me to be a scientist. And she said, "Go Leland," and that's what's going to happen when they come out. These
and
people
any moment now,
that their families are going to be there. Wish other people could be there, but it's just an amazing moment.
And the shot you just saw there with people carefully spaced apart, we saw them walk out right before the anthem started. It was Vice President Mike Pence along with Elon Musk and Jim Bridenstine. Of course, they left the building just ahead of the crew, so they are standing. We're looking now at the doors, but they're standing just right of that, across from the Teslas. There's also a designated spot for Doug and Bob's immediate families. There's that shot now, so we're looking at the back of Elon Musk, Jim Bridenstine, and Vice President Mike Pence. Of course, there's a small group of media there also, and so we've kind of blocked this very carefully to maintain social distancing and those that can't have the masks on. But there's the Teslas waiting for them. They got the meatball. There's the worm in the background and the worm on the back of the Teslas. So you got some mixed feelings about the worm. Right? Yeah, and the shot you just saw there was spaced apart. We saw them walk out right before the anthem started. It was Vice President Mike Pence along with Elon Musk and Jim Bridenstine. Of course, they left the building just ahead of the crew.
Sorry. I love that the worm is so retro, and it's only fitting that it would be making its way back.
There's also a designated spot.
Just the opulence of NASA space to the families.
There's that shot now. So
yeah, thank you.
But I mean, the
Elon Musk and Bridenstine and Vice President Mike Pence. Of course, there's a small group of media there also, and so we've kind of blocked this very carefully to maintain social distancing and those that can't have the masks on.
Orbit.
There's the Tesla truce. They got the meatball. There's the worm in the background about the worm. But the meatball's not going away. It's some mixed feelings about the worm.
There we go.
So there's another view there of the crosswalk. There is where Bob and Doug are going to walk out any moment. Of course, they're going to get the photo taken by all the paparazzi there, and we're just standing by for them to walk out.
I love that the worm is so retro.
Ok, allora si sente?
If they walk out any minute now, they're going to be right on schedule to start their final goodbyes of NASA. I'm sure they're going to pause for photo ops. This is just really amazing. Haven't seen this site since 2011 with STS-1.
Allora, vai, siamo in diretta. Fate domande sulla missione.
This is really incredible. Truce?
Orbit.
Is
Yeah.
it truce?
So here they come.
Scrivete qui nella chat tutte le
Shuttle missions, but they've never done this in a SpaceX.
Grazie.
They've never done this together. Doug actually got never done this on take his wife and son up to the built up
Ok, allora si sente.
tower. Yesterday they tweeted out a photo that was so cool.
I saw that picture and it had a prominent worm in the picture, right? It's just a new era in space travel.
Riding in Tesla Model S. So they're climbing through those DeLorean
Allora, vai, siamo in diretta. Fate domande sulla missione.
Are they stopped? Are they stopped?
Siamo in diretta su YouTube.
And then you see in the front seat there, that's our flight surgeon.
And you can see them
He's climbing in, and
waving
the
with
suit
their families
technicians.
now. We just saw them
There's
do
one
Scrivete qui nella chat tutte le domande che volete.
buckling in. They're both, the two suit techs are buckling in, Bob and Doug, and they're connecting that umbilical.
And Lauren, I know you mentioned this earlier, but for folks that maybe weren't watching then or can't remember, I mean, we're in Florida. It's super hot, super muggy. So how are they staying cool?
There are these portable cooling units. We had one at the ONC building, or sorry, two at the ONC building. There are two in the Teslas. There'll be two in the
we're in
elevators,
Florida. It's
and
super
then
hot,
two in the
super
white room when they arrive on the crew arm. So we're just keeping that cool air flowing through the suits. There's actually ducting integrated into the suits to keep them cool. And you can see they're saying goodbye to their families. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome that their families get to come up to the window and obviously get a little closer than everybody
wow.
else.
It's awesome.
There's Megan.
Yeah, it's awesome
son.
that their families get to come up to the window
Oh
and
my gosh.
obviously get a little
Ragazzi,
closer
abbiamo
than
problemi con la
everybody else.
diretta.
What it's all about, as I mentioned before, it's about the people, it's about the
Their families
families,
get to come up to the
and
window and
working together.
obviously get a little
Ragazzi, abbiamo problemi con la diretta.
What it's all about, as I mentioned before, it's about the people, it's about the families,
to the
and
window. Yeah,
working
it's
together.
emotional.
Ragazzi, abbiamo problemi con la diretta.
What it's all about, as I mentioned before, it's about the people, it's about the families. There they go.
Yeah, it's emotional.
Ragazzi, abbiamo problemi con la diretta.
There they go.
It's emotional.
Ragazzi, abbiamo problemi con la
Now, as we see the convoy begin the journey to the pad 39A, we are thinking about each and every one of you, our colleagues and convoy begin the journey to the pad, who have had a hand in seeing the Crew Dragon commercial crew program come to life.
Every single one of you could be here up close to see this, but we want you to be a part of this journey regardless of where you are watching today. And so for the next few
Ok,
minutes,
forse si sente?
making their way to the
Sentite
pad,
tutti?
we want to highlight those people whose hands and words and thoughts built all
Ok,
this
forse si
stuff.
sente?
And we hope
Sentite
that
tutti?
we want to feel that pride that each of these NASA
Allora, il corteo dovrebbe essere del Presidente Trump. Sente?
and we hope
Sentite
that we
tutti?
want to feel that pride that each of these NASA
Allora, il corteo dovrebbe essere del Presidente Trump. Sente? Sentite tutti?
feel that pride that each of these
Allora, il corteo dovrebbe essere del Presidente Trump.
Human space flight, commercial human space flight ever.
Allora, il corteo dovrebbe essere del Presidente Trump.
Human space flight, commercial human space flight ever.
Allora, il corteo dovrebbe essere del Presidente Trump.
I'm Nicole from SpaceX in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Congratulations to SpaceX for hitting another major milestone, and safe travels to Bob and Doug in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Congratulations to SpaceX for hitting another major milestone, and safe travels to Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug, Naval Speaker from here. We've got a lot of our launch vehicle team here to wish you a very wonderful
Dai ragazzi, fate domande. Dai ragazzi, fate domande. Dai ragazzi, fate domande. Dai ragazzi, fate domande. Dai ragazzi, fate domande.
It's been 9 years in the making. This is such a historic time, and our team has worked so hard, and we're very excited to be here. 9 years in the making. This is such a historic time, and our team has worked so hard, and we're very excited to be here.
Hi, this is Sam from Ranger, Texas. Go Bob and Doug, go NASA, and go SpaceX. Hi, this is Sam from Ranger, Texas. Go Bob and Doug, go NASA, and go SpaceX.
Space Center. Bob and Doug wishing
No, qui siamo intorno al Cape al complesso di lancio. No, qui siamo intorno al al complesso di lancio. No, qui siamo intorno al al complesso di lancio. No, qui siamo intorno al al complesso di lancio.
And we are following the convoy, and Lauren, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so glad that we had the chance to hear from the NASA and SpaceX teams that are working behind the scenes, because Lauren, I know you know this all too well. These people have been working not only for the last since 2014 when SpaceX won this contract, but I mean working long hours, long reviews. Coronavirus happened, and then they're homeschooling their kids, still trying to get through all the final checkouts and closeouts.
Ah, siamo già a 2, fate domande dai sulla missione.
Waiting on the weather.
Io vi rispondo.
But it's just great that they got a
Ah,
chance
siamo
to
già a 2, fate domande dai sulla missione.
Absolutely. It is a bummer
Io vi
that we can't
rispondo.
all be here in person, but to
Ah,
have
siamo
that
già a 2, fate
opportunity
domande dai sulla missione.
it's pretty cool. And you're right. I
Io
mean,
vi
it's been
rispondo.
years of extremely
Ah,
hard
siamo
work.
già a 2,
Fortunately,
fate
we had a
domande
couple
dai sulla missione.
milestones on the way, and you're right.
Io vi rispondo.
And IFA, the in-flight abort mission, but it was all leading up to this. And I speak for all of my friends and colleagues that are still working on this program. But today is a career and just a high for all of those people. Not the pinnacle program, but today is
Doug and Bob appreciate them so much. And as they continue to make their way to the pad, the next astronauts to make this journey are also watching very closely as NASA astronauts Shannon Walker, Victor Glover, and Mike Hopkins, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi will also be flying. They'll be in the Crew 1 mission a little later this year. Of course, that's after Bob and Doug return home. Now, Crew 1 will be the second space flight for Walker and Hopkins, who each
Ragazzi,
flew
scusate i
on
problemi.
Soyuz. And it will be the first space flight for Glover and the third space flight for Noguchi. He flew on both the space shuttle and the Soyuz previously. Now, the Crew 1 mission will be the first in a series of rotational flights to station after Demo2, once NASA certifies crew flights. And right now, Victor and Mike are following along from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and they are standing by to talk to NASA's Daryl Nail. Daryl, are you? All right, I'm sorry, we don't have Daryl, but as we continue to follow the convoy, we've got actually a little chase car following the convoy. I think we're going to be actually talking to Victor and Mike from right here. Victor and Mike, are you there?
We are here.
All right, hi guys. I'm just going to ask you first. You're going to be two of the next people to get on board Crew Dragon. So what are all your thoughts and feelings as you're watching Bob and Doug in the Tesla right now?
As you can imagine, there's a lot of emotions. Of course, we're excited for Bob and Doug, excited for NASA, excited for SpaceX, and really the whole country. A lot of pride in what it's taken to get to this moment, all the thousands of people that have contributed to getting to this moment. But then there's also a bit of sense of duty of business as usual. So for us, we're going to be watching, we're going to be listening, we're going to be learning, and all of that to help get us prepared for when it's our turn.
And your mission called Crew 1. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it was also great to see them walk out just now and say goodbye to their families and do the virtual hugs. That was great. There are a lot of emotions, but that's probably the best one.
And Victor and Mike, I know recently you had Shannon Walker and Soichi Noguchi also assigned to the Crew 1 mission with you. What can you tell us
ragazzi,
about
domandate, su, non mi fate stare da solo.
Yeah, you know, I'm very excited about Crew 1. We've got a very experienced crew. You guys hit on that a little bit earlier. Of course, Shannon, she's been with NASA for around 30 years. She's been with the astronaut office for more than 15 years, and of course,
questa macchina forse dovrebbe trasportare i due astronauti della Dragon, non sono sicuro.
You know, with Jackson, he's done it all. 1996, when he first became an astronaut, shuttle, space station, short duration, long duration, spacewalks, you name it. And so, you know, we kind of late in the game here had our full crew complement, and so it's really helped getting them in with all of that experience. It's really streamlined the process for our becoming more cohesive as a crew.
Yeah, you know, they really hit the ground running. We showed up to our first sims, and it felt like we had done it several times before. And so it's great because we do have a lot to get done. We not only have to drag in spacecraft that Bob and Doug are going to do later today, God willing, we also have to be ready to do all of the things that a crew on board the space station does. The spacewalks, the research, the basic upkeep of the space station. And so we also have all that training going on as well. And that's what we've been doing for the past several months together.
And now I have a specific question for Mike. I know that you've flown on the Russian Soyuz, and not specifically on space shuttle.
Ma ragazzi, in breve vi rispiego praticamente come funziona la missione. Allora, il Falcon 9 decolla alle 21:33 UTC.
It's symbolic of that transition, the transition from months and years of preparation to the actual
E dopo 12 minuti di volo, praticamente anzi dopo 9,22 minuti di volo si separa
on all of the work that it took to get to this moment. But then it also gives them time to focus on the job.
Il vettore, praticamente il Falcon 9, dopo 9,22 minuti di volo, ritorna a terra. Poi dopo 12 minuti la Dragon si sgancia e dopo 12,46 minuti invece il sistema d'emergenza si sgancia e apre il portello. Apre il portello che servirà per l'aggancio dopo la stazione spaziale.
And a question for Victor, because I know, if all goes well, when you fly on Crew 1 a little later this year, it's going to
Poi dopo una settimanella circa, così gli astronauti ritornano a bordo della Dragon, che sempre in autonomia si sgancia e torna a terra con i paracaduti.
Feel like for you, knowing you're headed to the launch pad, you're going to be launching into space for the very first time.
You know, it'll be tough to, or it is tough now to imagine what those feelings are going to be like. We were able to simulate that and run through a day of launch exercise and ride out in the Teslas to the launch pad, up the elevator, up the set of stairs, and out the crew arm to where the vehicle would be. And just that day was amazing to me. We were able to do it with the full convoy and to see what that would be like. And that was overwhelming after being a kid watching something similar.
Adesso le macchine, ecco, stanno entrando proprio vicino alla rampa, nel cuore, diciamo, del centro di lancio.
And Karen and Megan, I can't wait to see my kids standing there. It's something that I look forward to. It's going to be great.
Victor Glover, Mike Hopkins, thank you so much, and we can't wait to wish you well and cheer you along on that journey. Lauren?
So, that was so cool. Now, as you're watching this live from wherever you are, you can send a shout out to the crew with a like or a comment on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag LaunchAmerica and be a part of this moment.
So, Leland, I mean, it looks like the convoy is headed past the vehicle assembly building.
Il Falcon
now
sulla rampa.
About 3 more miles to go at this point. But what do you think that is going through their minds right now?
Well, I was watching some video of Bob and Doug, the kind of the lighter side, and I would imagine that the two of them, they've trained so hard, they are meticulous at what they do. They might be telling jokes like we did when we were in the
Sì, la macchina che state vedendo, che viene inquadrata, dovrebbe essere la macchina degli astronauti che li porta alla rampa.
You know exactly what you're doing, and we had a moment of levity where we would tell jokes, and we wouldn't even tell the whole joke. We would just say the number because we had said them so many times, and we were high-fiving, we were chest bumping, we were getting ready mentally, but it was that moment of just we've made all this preparation. And now it's game day. We're ready to get up in that vehicle and go to space.
And now we're going to go out to Hawthorne for the last leg of the convoy's trek to the launch pad. Dan?
Hey, thanks, Marie. So at this point, the convoy is getting really close to pad 39A, and pretty soon they're going to be entering what's known as the BDA, or the blast danger area. Before any pad technicians, engineers, or obviously
qui dovremmo essere a Houston.
SpaceX and NASA teams do some internal go-no-go polls just to make sure everything is clear, and you already saw people on the arm and the crews moving in, so everything is clear.
This storied launch pad, which has been the beginning point for so many firsts, is the perfect backdrop for today's historic launch that marks a new first and a new era in human spaceflight. But with new vehicles being designed and launched, this launch pad required some major upgrades.
That's right, and Daryl Nail is going to show us a couple of those upgrades at Pad 39A, where SpaceX completed a 21st century makeover to help launch us into the next chapter of human spaceflight.
Intanto parliamo delle tute degli astronauti che hanno un design veramente curioso. Praticamente questo design è nato da una collaborazione con Elon Musk e con fantascientifiche. Sì, questo designer faceva cose aerospaziali, cioè diciamo fantascientifiche più che aerospaziali, e questa collaborazione è nata e praticamente è uscita fuori questa tuta che è molto molto innovativa e molto particolare come design. Non c'è più il casco tondeggiante, il casco è semi-rettangolare, diciamo. Questa tuta tra l'altro è in Mylar, non Mylar semplice come quello delle magliette, serve per la vita intraveicolare, ma può proteggere dalla depressurizzazione in caso di emergenza gli astronauti. Vedete qui nelle immagini che stanno comparendo, stanno costruendo il complesso di lancio per l'Apollo. Il complesso di lancio è lo stesso, il 39A, che è quello che dove lancia SpaceX. SpaceX l'ha comprato dalla NASA. Ecco, poi adesso dalle immagini, non so se compare qui in diretta, esatto, troviamo lo shuttle, perché il complesso 39B di Cape Canaveral venne trasformato in rampa da shuttle. Allora, ok, siamo a 2 spettatori, vediamo il lancio dello shuttle qui, non so se vedete nelle immagini. Ecco, questo è il complesso di lancio 39B. E questo è il nuovo complesso 39A per la rampa di SpaceX. SpaceX lancia da Cape Canaveral solo razzi che portano cariche alla stazione spaziale oppure test, insomma razzi che non portano satelliti.
And you can see on your screen, Bob and Doug are getting very, very close to Pad 39A. In addition to these launch pad upgrades, SpaceX also made changes to both Falcon 9 and Dragon to enable flying crew. A key update to this latest version of Dragon is its highly reliable launch escape system that is capable of carrying crew to safety at
Allora, questo, diciamo, questo avvallamento, questo canale che vedete, questo serve per il gas di scarico del razzo, dovrebbe.
Another key upgrade, though, for everything today is Dragon's new life support system. As you can imagine, and oh, sorry, there we go. Crew arriving at the pad.
Ok, qui vediamo il Falcon 9 sulla rampa, come potete vedere ci sono dei pistoni idraulici per elevarlo e poi il ponte qui sopra per gli astronauti.
Keeping it free of contaminants, removing carbon dioxide, regulating temperature and humidity, and implementing a waste collection system.
Vedete? Qui abbiamo
Falcon 9 were small, but
i pistoni idraulici e questo è tutto il braccio di elevazione del razzo. Qui sopra invece c'è la pensilina per gli astronauti.
Mission failure. Falcon 9 was already able to handle engine failure, but new emphasis was put on making sure that a failure through
Tesla.
And this goes down all the way to latches, control valves, electronics, and wiring, and so much more to keep them safe.
Qualsiasi domanda ponetemela che io vi rispondo qui. Voi avete la chat di fianco.
All right, thanks, Dan. That was really cool to see. We can see the Teslas on the screen there. They're going to stop for Bob and Doug to take a little nature break before they make their way up to the pad, and we're expecting it should be about.
Ok, le macchine vanno via, gli astronauti li hanno lasciati dentro quel fabbricato.
That the crew is on the pad, so we'll quiet down to listen for that when we get a little closer. But Lauren, you didn't get a chance to mention while they were driving out there, they have a very cool playlist they had on the way out, right?
Yeah, I remember Bob tweeting, what should I listen to on the way
out?
Ok,
adesso vediamo il Falcon 9 sulla rampa da un'inquadratura dal basso.
Back in black.
Di fianco.
Tweeted that one, or someone recommended it, which is super cool. And the reason being, they are back. Then they also listened
adesso vediamo un'inquadratura dall'alto dalla pensilina degli astronauti.
In Painima. And I believe so, yeah. Got another career.
Allora, mancano, qui potete vedere il countdown, mancano 2 ore, 57 minuti e 8 secondi.
The fact that they're waiting. And the third song was the Star Spangled Banner.
Ecco, un'altra ripresa di fianco del Falcon.
For very obvious reasons, that one.
Set the mood, set the tone, right, Leland? You know.
Ecco, un complesso, proprio tutta una panoramica del complesso di lancio 39A. Un'altra vista dal ponte degli astronauti.
So we're looking now at the Crew Dragon capsule on top of the Falcon 9 rocket, the impressive crew access arm. That's that black and white kind of hallway you see there. That's how the crew make their way over to Crew Dragon to climb inside. And that Falcon 9 rocket stands about 230 feet tall. The Crew Dragon trunk, from the bottom of the trunk to the top of the nose cone, that's another 27 feet on top of that. So here in just a couple of minutes, Bob and Doug are going to be making and lots of people. And it looks like, I'm not sure if that one is Bob or Doug in this one here. Can't tell from this view, but looks like one of them is getting ready to get out of the
Ok, astronauti stanno scendendo.
Our pumpkin suits had different colors for
Sì.
what position, what mission position you had.
Perfetto.
Do these suits have colors to designate the two astronauts, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of, but their names are on the suits.
Maybe that helps. Well, we had names too.
Ovviamente, come potete vedere, tutti gli operatori indossano mascherina, guanti, ma non solo per il coronavirus, soprattutto perché devono preservare la salute degli astronauti, dato che andranno in contatto con gli astronauti sulla stazione spaziale.
I'm going to call them the DeLorean doors.
Yes.
Can I call them that?
Sure, I think that's totally fair game. Acknowledge the inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Again, we're looking at
Ecco, qui vediamo proprio che le macchine stanno arrivando alla rampa di lancio. Sicuramente la cosa è molto cambiata rispetto alle missioni Apollo, dove c'era un furgoncino. Adesso abbiamo le Tesla.
You know, it's a really beautiful. You think about STEM education, but this is totally STEAM: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I think, you know, SpaceX has done an incredible job of making.
Ecco, vediamo che scendono gli astronauti dalla Tesla.
You know, everything just fits perfectly. And
Vedete, la tuta spaziale è molto molto elegante, a mio avviso, di design molto particolare.
But this is a very sleek and elegant and kind of futuristic look at the next era of space travel. And I just love seeing these Teslas versus the Astrovan. Are they doing selfies?
Ecco, vedete, adesso stanno facendo una foto.
Crew Dragon just taking in the sight.
It's pretty high.
And I don't know if you caught this one.
Sì.
We could see it briefly on the shot, but the license plate says ISS BND ISS bound.
Vedete, sono molto divertiti, vedete anche la tuta spaziale, veramente che design.
You just need the weather to say, I mean, it looks pretty nice right now, right? But I mean, obviously it's not just what the weather conditions are here. They've got to think about downrange in case of...
E ecco che si dirigono verso l'ascensore e si preparano a salire verso la cima del Falcon, verso la Crew Dragon.
It's not 255 floors, but that's 255 feet. And from there, they'll take, once they get up there, and this elevator is pretty zippy, so they'll get up there pretty quickly. They'll get out, and they'll walk up another flight of stairs to level 265, and that's where they will greet the crew arm.
And I don't know, well, obviously Leland's been in the elevator. Lauren, I'm pretty sure you...
Ecco, potete vedere gli ascensori in cima alla rampa di lancio.
Pull some G's.
A little bit of a jolt when it first goes.
Yeah, you get used to it. And then the jolt is a little bit more extreme when you get in the rocket and take off. So.
Just a little primer. It's a primer.
The doors are opening.
Ecco, gli astronauti hanno aperto la porta dell'ascensore. Intanto vi comunico che il Falcon 9 è alto 70 metri e ha un diametro di 3,66 metri.
Here they come.
It's a beautiful view up there too of all of the surroundings in Florida and this.
Ecco, vedete, gli astronauti si dirigono verso il ponte che li porterà a bordo della Crew Dragon. Poi abbiamo tutta la squadra che li sistemerà a bordo.
And those are the stairs Lauren mentioned. They're at it's the 255-foot level right now.
Yes.
I think I said that right. And now they're headed up the stairs to the 265-foot level. That's a level that will take them to where the crew access arm is in the white room.
Yeah, that's the view right there that they're looking at. And Lauren, what are those chevrons, those white chevrons on the floor? What do they lead to?
Those are basically highlighting the exit path. So in the event that that anyone up there needed to get away ASAP, they follow those arrows to where escape baskets await them. There's 7 baskets.
Ecco, stanno preparando, stanno prendendo le ultime informazioni.
Down from that fixed service structure down to the ground, safe and away from the rocket.
Great.
And at the top right of your screen where you see them, there's actually a phone right up there next to the worm. There's the worm again, Leland. But there's a phone.
I'm okay with that now.
Okay.
It really pops up there.
Yeah, it's like it belongs there or something.
It's funny, isn't it? Leland, tell us about the phone. What's the significance of the phone up there?
Yeah, I mean, you can call family members.
Ecco, vedete, questo astronauta, non riconosco bene chi è dei due, sta guardando sotto alla rampa. Le tute sono fatte su misura, ovviamente.
Talk to them when you get to space.
Absolutely. And again, they're just kind of taking in the sights before they go into the white room, and the pad team is there. You can see them. They're in black with the white numbers on their back. They're all members of the pad team. They're going to be helping them when they get into ingress. Actually, we're at T minus 2 hours and 50 minutes right now, at about T minus 2 hours and 35 minutes. So just under 15 minutes from now is when the astronauts will ingress. That's the term we use for climbing into Dragon. And of course, they will have the assistance of the suit techs and get buckled in. And so we want to head over to Hawthorne now for a preview of what's in store for not just Bob and Doug, but future space travelers.
Ecco un'altra vista proprio sulla Crew Dragon, in cima al Falcon.
Passengers to station and beyond using Dragon.
That's right. NASA is going to be enabling up to 2 private astronaut missions to visit the space station each year.
Ripeto, questo dovrebbe essere il centro a Houston, però non sono sicuro.
Opening access for companies to manufacture products in microgravity, for new commercial modules in space, and to enable more people to be able to explore the stars firsthand.
And the more people out there exploring the stars, the closer we get to becoming a multiplanetary species. Earlier, we showed you a first-hand look at where you would train if you were to fly with us on board Dragon, but now let's take a peek inside of the spacecraft itself.
When we wanted to take Dragon and make it human-rated, I think we took a different approach to spaceship design than has previously been
Ecco,
done.
qui vediamo proprio la fabbrica, abbiamo visto un attimo la fabbrica di SpaceX, questo è un ingegnere di SpaceX.
Another generation of astronauts. Really, everything when you look at Dragon was
Ecco, questo è il design primario, il vecchio design della Crew Dragon. Ecco, tutti i sedili sono ovviamente ammortizzati e qui lì troviamo, qui avete visto quel portello, quello è il portello di aggancio alla stazione spaziale.
not just to be very functional, but with a user experience in mind, it's very intuitive to know what we need to do at any given moment in time.
Ecco, qui vedete gli strumenti in questa parte e subito di qua trovate tutta la squadra che fa anche le foto che si sta portando gli astronauti a bordo della Crew Dragon.
3 different seat sizes. We even go so far as molding the foam around the astronaut's body so that there's not any pressure points and it's just generally a pleasurable journey to space. Dragon is a spaceship that's all about safety and reliability. We designed it to be two-fault tolerant, which means that any two things could fail. So I could lose a flight computer and a thruster, and I could still bring...
Ecco, stanno attaccando la refrigerazione della tuta.
The crew can get away from Falcon and get picked up safely. I've worked on Dragon since 2012. When I see Dragon lift off, I think I'm going to feel a buildup of emotion of 8 years of working with some of the best engineers.
Ecco, stanno avendo le istruzioni. Così quello, vedete, il portello di lancio della Crew Dragon è aperto. Sono pronti, ecco, firmano il muro del ponte di lancio. Firmano per far vedere che sono stati qui. Questo è Harley, questo che vi indico è Harley. L'altro è Benken, questo che sta firmando in questo momento è Benken e questo è Harley.
That's awesome.
It's a good tradition.
And while we were in the video, we saw Bob and Doug walk down the crew access arm. Leland, it's like that, futuristic look that you talked about. I mean, what did you think seeing that, how that kind of compare and contrast what that was like during shuttle?
Vedete Benken che sta sorridendo e saluta la telecamera.
Everything look at the thumbs up from Bob. He's getting excited. Just a few little photos at the end there. But it's just a totally
si vede, nel senso stanno dando le ultime spiegazioni, le informazioni su quelli, anche gli occhiali, perché proprio non devono assolutamente contagiare con nessun batterio questi astronauti, perché andranno in contatto con gli astronauti sulla stazione spaziale e quindi è molto pericoloso.
This change in the way that we're doing business is going to be a really great way of getting more people to the table to fly in space.
Yeah, that was really important to us. Dragon, we see it as a 21st century spaceship. It needs to look like a 21st century spaceship. It flies like a 21st century spaceship.
Ecco, vedete Harley che saluta una volta le telecamere, gli operatori che entrano dentro, che preparano la capsula.
Technology and aesthetic is super important to us.
Dentro la Crew Dragon, vedete gli operatori che lo aiutano, gli hanno dato istruzioni su cosa deve fare all'interno. Prima ad Harley.
They're holding back the hatch seals to protect the seals on the hatch, but also making sure that the crew doesn't hit their head or anything on the way in. Even though they have helmets, we still don't want that to happen.
Bene, ecco, vedete un operatore che dalle ultime istruzioni gli aiuta a legare le cinture, dato che all'aeroporto spaziale un minimo impedisce la mobilità.
This over and over and over again with Bob and Doug, and and I've heard them say, well, we might be a little bit ahead of schedule if we're ready. It just gives them more time to check things out,
Yeah. So right now, what the crew, the suit technicians are doing is they're strapping the crew's feet into these.
Ecco, vedete, qui potete vedere tutti i pannelli, il design veramente minimale della Crew Dragon. Qui ci sono i pannelli di controllo, qui alcuni interruttori e poi solo interruttori sui braccioli.
More sleek design where there's one point to plug in to get cooling, communications, and everything. And we had a 5-point harness. We, had these hoses and things all over the place.
Ripeto, si stanno legando le cinture di sicurezza.
Into the future of space travel.
And similar to what was going in the ONC building during the suit checkouts, that seat umbilical is going to connect to the right thigh of the spacesuit. There is a fluid module that is connected to the spacesuit, and that provides fresh cooling air and also nitrox for the leak checks that are going to come up later. But the audio system is also going through that umbilical.
E collegano gli spallacci per le spalle, si preparano proprio, stanno legando le ultime cinture di sicurezza.
They're going to perform a comm check, and that's again similar to what was done at the ONC building, but this time the integrated two-way communications between the astronauts and the ground crew.
And we're going to head back to Hawthorne now, as we just saw Bob and Doug ingress Crew Dragon. Dan?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, it's incredible to see them inside the capsule. If you're just now tuning in, great timing. You're watching our coverage of the mission known as Demonstration Mission 2 or Demo2. Today, SpaceX and
Perfetto, hanno tirato sulle visiere, si stanno preparando i controlli. Ecco, prendono più pratica, diciamo, proprio a bordo della capsula, non solo hanno fatto il simulatore, ma proprio adesso fanno i controlli alla capsula.
Doug Hurley really close to our screen and Bob Bankin on the further seat away from us.
And they are getting ready to lift off from pad 39A, where Falcon 9 will lift off around or at 4:33 p.m. Eastern Time.
Ecco, stanno controllano tutta la strumentazione, fanno un check pre-volo della capsula.
Known as the crew arm, and now they're already boarded inside of Dragon.
Yeah, right before they got in, we did see them pause for a moment and actually sign the wall. They were in the White Room, and the White Room is just literally that room at the end of the crew arm that has an opening into Dragon. It's the last place on planet Earth where Bob and Doug are standing before they get into Dragon for their ride to the space station.
And the term the White Room was first used during NASA Gemini missions, where the room right before entering into the spaceship was painted white. So we've continued.
Vedete la comodità veramente della Crew Dragon, è molto spaziosa, larga.
If you just saw, they did sign the White Room wall, which is really, really awesome. It's a fairly small area that has room for the crew and a few ground support members to complete cargo load at T-minus 24 hours and crew ingress at T-minus 2 hours and 35 minutes. And ingress is how we refer to the crew boarding Dragon.
And inside the White Room, there's also a movable platform that just gets extended out to the capsule just in order to bridge that gap between the crew arm and the Dragon side hatch, just allowing easy entry into Dragon. And as you might expect, the entire area is environmentally controlled just so the Dragon side hatch can be kept open while we're keeping all of that dust, dirt, Florida humidity out of the capsule.
Stanno sistemando I guanti.
There's also a big seal that's inflated and compressed against the capsule right now just to help maintain that clean environment.
The White Room also has lots of tools in order to
Perché ovviamente loro non devono pilotare assolutamente niente se non in caso di emergenza. Speriamo non ci sarà nessuna emergenza, perché il computer di volo è completamente automatico.
And so as we just heard from Lauren and Marie and the team, they're getting into this capsule now. They're getting their seats connected to their suits via that umbilical that's going to give them hardline connections into audio for their comm checks, which are going to be coming up shortly. And again, breathing gas and pressurized nitrox for those suit leak checks. So this will be
Ecco, vedete, Harley fa abbastanza difficoltà con i guanti che impediscono la mobilità. Pensiamo più o meno a un guanto da sci, diciamo, quindi è abbastanza duro quel movimento.
Bob and Doug getting into Dragon, getting strapped in. Before they connected their suits to the actual seats, they did something called a foreign object debris check, or a FOD check, and that just means that they actually get inspected for any substance or debris on their suit that could interfere with those systems on Dragon.
And to help protect
Ecco, stanno controllando le cinture di sicurezza.
as well as their umbilical port on their suits that need to be removed before they can ingress. So they've already removed those, and as you can see, they are getting strapped in. And once the FOD check is complete, our commander...
Ragazzi, manca 1 ora, 34 minuti e 38 secondi al lancio.
Bankin followed after him, and they're getting buckled in right now, as you can see on your screen, and attaching their umbilicals to their suits. The umbilicals allow the crew to have comms through their suit and air to help keep them cool as well as
Ecco, vedete Harley che sta sistemando le cinture di
As we
sicurezza.
mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization.
And just walking through the interior a little bit, there are 4 seats configured inside Dragon right now. They're numbered 1 to 4 from right to left when you're looking at the seats. So we've had a couple of camera views just from the hatchway, so in the white room. If you're looking at that angle, you go from 1 to 4 right to left. Doug Hurley is in seat 2, or the commander seat. Bob Bankin is in seat 3, which is on Crew Dragon is the pilot seat. And then obviously nobody is in seats 1 and 4 today. Crew Dragon is designed to carry 4 astronauts on these future NASA missions, and we met 2 of the Crew 1 members and heard about their other 2 crew members a little bit earlier. Directly in front of both of our crew members today are 3 touchscreen displays that they're going to use throughout the flight, giving them insight into Dragon's systems, seeing any alerts or issues with the vehicle, and if required, taking control.
Ecco, vedete qui fa vedere proprio gli strumenti della Crew Dragon.
Those displays right now.
Sono 3 display touchscreen e sotto vari pulsanti per il controllo ovviamente di emergenza. I display touchscreen principalmente servono, oltre a vedere le informazioni sulla capsula, anche per il pilotaggio proprio.
So now let's check in with John Insprucker for the latest on the health of both vehicles. Over to you, John.
We're at T-minus 2 hours, 36 minutes, 30 seconds in the countdown for the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon to the space station. The Dragon Launch Ops team has completed their major activities to prepare the spacecraft for the astronauts. Checkouts are complete of major systems, including the escape system. And as you can see, ingress of the astronauts well underway. They're hooking their suits up to the various cabin systems. Right now on Dragon, there are no issues in work.
Ecco, vedete qui Bankin di fianco ad Harley. Harley è il capo missione, Bankin è il co-capo, diciamo, il vice capo, il copilota proprio per dire preciso. Stava controllando prima.
That's when the majority of the launch crew will actually get on console officially in Fire Room 4 at Kennedy Space Center. Currently on Falcon 9, all systems are go. The Air Force range continues to report no problems with air and sea space clearance. Everything's looking good. Roadblocks are up around the launch pads. The weather forecast continues to be acceptable, but something we're going to watch all the way through.
Ecco, ovviamente sono un misto preoccupati e un misto contenti, diciamo.
We need to make sure conditions are acceptable.
Harley ha dichiarato che prima di partire ha dichiarato che se la missione andasse male non ha paura per lui, ma dispiacerebbe per chi ha speso tutto questo tempo per testare la capsula, per progettarla.
Things continue to be a 60% probability of violating the conditions, or 40% chance if you're an optimist of good weather. But right now the clock is continuing to count down. All systems are go. We're just inside T-minus 2 minutes.
Ecco, avete visto poco fa che si sono dati un pugno, diciamo un saluto amichevole, perché tra poco, vedete, stanno dicendo ok, stanno dando dei feedback, diciamo, alla squadra, perché tra poco non la vedranno, tra poco uscirà la squadra.
So first off, thank you so much for joining me today. Jessica, I'll start with you. Yeah. Walk me through kind of Dragon's life history and how we got to where we are today.
Sure. So Dragon was designed from scratch 12 years ago by SpaceX. It was designed to carry cargo to and from the International Space Station. And what that means is 12 years ago wasn't that long ago. So we got to use state-of-the-art materials, state-of-the-art, computer processors. So really, Dragon, to start off with, is already a modern advanced spacecraft. But then there's 2 other parts of it that really led to commercial crew. One part of it was that we actually were able to man-rate cargo Dragon while it's in the vicinity of the space station and attached to the space station. So that was a huge learning curve for crew. We human-rated a spacecraft for a portion of the mission, and then for crew you just have to obviously expand it for the whole mission. And then the last part was
la signorina che è il capo del progetto Starship, se non erro, sta dichiarando che la capsula SpaceX è stata progettata come cargo per portare le persone, come già sapevamo, a bordo della stazione spaziale.
That's just one part of the equation. Lars, walk us through, again, just the flight history of Falcon 9 from the humble beginnings to where we are today.
Well, Falcon 9 first flew almost 10 years ago today. And even though the first version of that rocket couldn't carry humans, the fundamental design was made with that goal in mind. Over the course of 87 launches, we've steadily improved the rocket so that now it has twice the payload to orbit that we started out with.
Ecco, lui è l'ingegnere principale per l'atterraggio, per il landing su Marte, per l'atterraggio su Marte.
Interesting is that reliability has come from steady upgrades and almost a decade of flight experience. But it's actually quite hard to prove reliability. This is something that the commercial airline industry has been grappling with for decades. And just like them, we rely on lots and lots of testing. So, for instance, if you take the Merlin 1D engine, that has to fly for about 6 minutes continuously to get to orbit. We took one of those and ran it for more than 250 minutes to get the statistical proof of reliability that we need. So it's that testing and lots of analysis that gives us and NASA the confidence that Falcon is ready to fly humans for the first time.
And obviously a lot of additional upgrades, a lot of additional testing had to go just to make sure that both of these vehicles were human rated. So walk us through some of the specific upgrades to Dragon to meet that criteria.
Yep. So the first one's pretty obvious. We had a cargo Dragon. It has lots of cargo cubbies, so we took all of those out, replaced it with astronaut seats.
SpaceX stava pensando di mandare il Falcon, scusate, la Crew Dragon sulla Luna per fare una missione sulla Luna, però propulso non dal Falcon 9 ma dal Falcon Heavy, e non si capisce bene se lo faranno.
It's oxygen, it scrubs carbon dioxide, and among other things, it controls temperature and relative humidity. So even though that was done on a smaller scale for mice, it was a learning curve on how to help man-rate a spacecraft when you have to do it for humans.
And then, Lars, same question. What kind of specific upgrades had to go into it to certify Falcon 9 for this day?
Well, I already mentioned the reliability upgrades. One upgrade that I think is particularly interesting is the launch abort trigger. So people probably know that Dragon has the ability in mid-flight to separate from Falcon and boost the astronauts away to safety in the case that there's some kind of emergency. And that could be triggered by the astronauts or by the ground crew. What people may not know is that Falcon itself has the ability to cause that trigger. And it will do that entirely autonomously using algorithms, software, and sensors. And that's particularly important in the case of a time-critical fault, where aborting quickly means aborting safely. And in some cases, Falcon can do this quicker than 0.3 of a second, so much faster than a human.
And Lars, I'm going to pause right there for a sec. We're getting some comm from the crew.
And so coming up shortly, we're going to hear these communication checks. Bob and Doug are going to be talking to several positions down on the... We'll hear him referred to CDR as Doug Hurley, that's the commander of GL.
And so that first one we heard was through the umbilical, so that communication linked directly into their suit. Now they're going to do a communication check
Ecco, scusate I problemi con la live.
Over TDRS, that's the Tracking and Data Relay Satellites. Same satellites we use to talk to the International Space Station, that's what we'll be using to talk and track Dragon throughout its entire flight.
Ah, vedete, gli astronauti sono in attesa.
So again, just waiting for a moment for the teams to continue configuring everything. They're going to do these ground checkouts now, and you're going to be hearing them talk directly to the core. It's the Crew Operations Responsible Engineer. That's essentially the Capcom if you followed NASA missions in the past. It's a position right here in Hawthorne at SpaceX Mission Control, which is just a few feet away from us, where the team's going to be watching over Bob and Doug for their entire flight. That's where the main person whose job it is to talk to them is going to be sitting. We'll also hear them do some checkouts with the launch director down there at the Cape inside firing room 4.
Ecco, vedete Bob Benken è che è il copilota della Crew Dragon, diciamo copilota perché in realtà non pilotano loro, sta controllando gli strumenti.
Copy, we have you the same. Stand by, we're still configuring for ground station contract.
Dragon copy.
And just to further explain some of those voice
E
protocols.
io vi ricordo che ovviamente potete fare domande, sono ben accette.
Or Houston Endeavor, back when we were flying those specific shuttles, you're going to hear SpaceX Dragon. That's the SpaceX team calling the Dragon team on orbit, and then Bob and Doug will be able to respond. And so they're going to continue to configure. We'll get these ground station checkouts momentarily. And just a reminder, you're going to hear that very unique beeping sound. That's called a quindar, and that's been something that's been used throughout space-to-ground or air-to-ground communications throughout spaceflight history, and that's really just for teams who are in mission control or supporting a launch know when you hear that sound, it's time to listen.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check, ground station.
Dragon has it loud and clear, much better, Jay.
And core, loud and clear, ground station comm check complete, stand by for TDRS comm check.
Ecco, stanno facendo una prova delle comunicazioni.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check, TDRS.
Ovviamente la tuta degli astronauti è refrigerata.
Core, loud and clear, TDRS comm check complete, stand by for checks with MD, LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
Jason, we've got you loud and clear. How you doing?
Doing great. How you guys doing in there? Stand by for comm checks.
Great day to launch a spaceship.
Agreed. And stand by for comm checks over Dragon to ground. Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground, comm check.
Loud and clear.
MD, loud and clear. Stand by for comm checks with LD.
Ok, fanno il controllo strumenti, un check, comunicazioni strumenti, controlli pre-volo.
Mike, we've got you loud and clear. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Let me try on Dragon to ground 1. Dragon, SpaceX launch director on Dragon to ground 1, comm check.
Loud and clear.
Have you the same?
Dragon, SpaceX, launch configuration comm checks are complete. Report when ready for seat rotation for section 2 of 4.100.
SpaceX Dragon, we're ready for seat rotation.
Copy, ready for seat rotation. We will report when initiating.
Ok, stanno analizzando la rotazione, eccetera. Stanno analizzando tutti I dati, I parametri.
Everything going good with the spacecraft, Bob and Doug talking to the teams on the ground. Pretty soon they're going to get their seats rotated. Bringing you back inside Hawthorne real quick, I do want to thank Jessica and Lars for joining me real quick, giving us that great insight into Dragon and Falcon 9. Hope you guys got a good spot staked out to watch a launch today. It's great to have you on.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to throw it now down to Gary Jordan at Mission Control Houston, who I know is also following along. Over to you, Gary.
Thanks, Dan. Great to hear good checks from Bob and Doug in the Dragon vehicle. Here in Mission Control Houston, Flight Director Zeb.
Ok, vediamo le immagini del controllo missione di Houston. È pronto, il Dragon è pronto per il lancio.
Flight controllers here will continue to monitor the countdown, but really it's up to the teams in Kennedy and Hawthorne to get us to liftoff at this point. So we want to hear your comments as we continue to count down to launch. So let's go to the social desk now. Tahira.
Ecco, vedete qui le immagini, tutti gli schermi.
Thanks, Gary. So taking a quick look at those numbers right now, there are now 1 million people watching our coverage, and Launch America is up to the #1 trending hashtag on Twitter. So let's take a
Allora,
closer look
lei
at what's being said
comunica la comunicazione alla NASA.
Okay, so right now we have Art Alexandria, and it looks like she's got a personal
Questo diciamo è un question time, un talk show.
And guys, this is what I'm loving seeing online with this hashtag, is how everyone around the nation is making this launch uniquely theirs. And I want to point out one line in her post that says, I believe that no matter how far the future is, we are on our way towards it. And guys,
Ecco, vediamo, abbiamo visto alzare i sedili della Crew Dragon che si stanno alzando per posizionare correttamente gli astronauti in posizione comandi.
Jessica with her space pup getting ready for liftoff. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, we love to see it. So please, if you have any space pets, comment using hashtag #LaunchAmerica. As you can see, everybody is thrilled to be a part of this launch today, and I know of one special guest in particular. I'm so pleased to welcome Diana Cohort of Physics Girl. Diana, I hear you have a burning question for Mission Control, so go for it.
Hi, Tahira. Thank you so much for including me on this incredibly special day. I'm Diana from the YouTube channel Physics Girl, and I've always been so fascinated by space and especially space exploration because we bring together so many people for such a complicated task to send a rocket up into space. So my question is along the lines of what goes into a mission like that? What we all know, I think we're familiar with how much preparation and training astronauts have to do. But preparing for a mission like this, and maybe preparing in the future for a mission to the moon or to Mars, what kinds of things does the whole team have to do in order to prepare to launch a rocket?
So Diana, that is such a great question because, I mean, sometimes I think it does get overlooked what all goes into making a moment like this happen. So Gary, what has the team there in Mission Control been doing to prepare for this historic launch?
Thanks, Tahira. And Diana, that's a fantastic question. Really, the operations here are not just starting today. There has been a lot of training and a lot of simulations that have been going into preparing for this moment. Really preparing and getting everyone familiarized with every step of the mission, from launch all the way through docking, and throwing different scenarios at them, just in case something were to happen.
Ecco, vediamo altre visioni di Houston, un'altra panoramica del controllo missione. Allora, ovviamente la Crew Dragon è completamente computerizzata, gli astronauti non comandano assolutamente niente, a parte che se no in caso di emergenza, speriamo che non ci siano emergenze.
But really this team expands across the country. You've already seen a lot of people working in Hawthorne, in Florida, in Houston, and really it takes an integrated and dedicated team to make a mission like this.
Vi ricordo, potete fare domande, potete fare qualsiasi cosa.
And really thanks to everyone sending in.
Qui avete la chat dal vivo laterale, tutto il live stream di LMR Technology, c'è un pulsante chat dal vivo.
Shout out to the flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston. In fact, some traditional flowers have been sent to Mission Control Houston.
Ecco, vediamo un'altra immagine del controllo missione. Vedete gli schermi.
Dedicated to the operations and the controllers here who are working so closely and are integrated in every part of the mission. But now let's head over to Hawthorne for the latest status on the crew and on Dragon. Dan.
All right, thank you, Gary. As you can see, Bob and Doug in a little bit different position now. Their suits have been rotated to the launch position. So this just puts their backs a little bit more.
Ok, avete visto prima i sedili si sono spostati per la posizione di lancio. Posizione di lancio che serve per ridurre al minimo le sollecitazioni.
So pressurized nitrox now flowing into those launch and entry suits that they're going to be wearing throughout the dynamic phases of this mission. So right now we are under 2 hours and 20 minutes from launch. We're about 2 hours and 18 minutes and counting from liftoff of the Falcon 9 from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It's going to be carrying our NASA crew members today, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken aboard
Mancano 2 ore e 18 minuti al lancio della Crew Dragon. Vedete ancora gli astronauti che stanno controllando tutti i parametri, l'orbita, controllano il sistema di aggancio. Vedete, questo è esattamente il comando della Crew Dragon. Potete vedere, se avete mai giocato al simulatore della Crew Dragon, la Crew Dragon lo trovate, il simulatore della Crew Dragon su SpaceX.
Again, as Dan said, their seats are rotated into launch position so that they can see those screens that you see there on the left side right in front of them. Their suit leak checks have been complete. Their comm checks are complete. So let's throw it over to Lauren in KSC.
All right, so Dragon hatch close is expected at T-minus 1 hour and 55 minutes. And
ok, ma anche al lancio.
Getting really, really close. So this is one of the key visual.
Infatti verrà lanciato il razzo verrà lanciato alle 21:30 circa.
Bob and Doug inside. Now, we have a couple of special guests joining us with Daryl at the OSB2 viewing location.
Ecco, vedete adesso qui ancora i comandi.
Engineer Elon Musk. Daryl?
Ecco, qui si vedono bene, molto bene i comandi. E adesso passiamo la parola, non so questa immagine dove siamo alle comunicazioni della NASA. Questo penso sia una sala conferenze alla NASA.
We are socially distanced for good reason, but we are here to talk about space, and I want to thank you both and tell you both it's a privilege and honor to be with you today. We're going to start off with you, Jim, and ask you a couple questions here. I want to ask you, first of all, it's been almost 3 years that you were sworn in as NASA administrator, and you knew from the very first day that you would be right here at the Kennedy Space Center in this moment when a commercial partner was ready to launch. Tell me what it's like to be leading NASA at this very moment.
So I want to be clear. I did not know that when I got sworn in. I will tell you, a lot of folks said it couldn't be done, but of course.
Allora vedo una domanda del signor Lamberto. Allora, signor Lamberto, ci sono aggiornamenti? Sì, sembra che a Cape Canaveral il tempo non sia poi così male, quindi probabilmente sicuramente lanciamo questa sera.
Capsules and challenges with parachutes. What's that? On the ground, uncrewed. I want to be really clear. Tests, but that's what's unique about SpaceX. SpaceX can do things that NASA historically has not done. They test, they fail, they fix, they fly, they test, they fail, they fix, they fly, until the point where we are today, where not only is SpaceX comfortable, but NASA is comfortable. We are ready to go. But if you would have told me even 2 years ago we'd be right here, I might have even been questioning it then. But this is a monumental achievement. It's a Herculean task. By the SpaceX team, which we're very grateful for, and also by the NASA team that has been working hand in glove with them to get to this point.
And it's good we have Jim and Elon both here to fact check each other, so that's good. Thank you for that. Elon, in 2002, when you
Bene, siamo a 3 spettatori. Ecco, vediamo Elon Musk, che è il direttore generale e fondatore, anche ingegnere capo di SpaceX.
2 astronauts in a car made by your car company to launch pad 39A with a spacecraft made by your space company.
Nonché anche il secondo uomo più ricco del mondo, non a caso ha le varie compagnie come Tesla e SpaceX.
This is a dream come true, I think, for me and everyone at SpaceX. This is not something that I ever thought would actually happen. So when starting SpaceX in 2002, I really did not think this day would occur. I expected 90% chance we'd be able to even get to low Earth orbit with a small rocket. So somebody told me in 2002 that I'd be standing here with the NASA administrator, meeting the astronauts, and we've got a rocket and spacecraft on pad 39A, the best pad in the world, which is it's an honor to be there. I would have thought, man, I don't know what you're smoking, but it's not. like no way is that true. And so it is. Say it's even a dream come true. I didn't even dream that this would come true. Let it that way. But it is. I am incredibly excited to be here on behalf of the SpaceX team And as Jim said, this really is the culmination of an incredible amount of work by the SpaceX team, by NASA, and by a number of other partners in the process of making this happen. It's really, you can look at this as
Ecco, vediamo ancora Harley che controlla gli strumenti.
when you add up all suppliers, everyone working incredibly hard to make this day happen.
Come ho detto prima, è attesa la presenza del presidente Trump e di Mike Pence.
And you're here, and it's amazing, and many of us have been amazed as we've watched you accomplish these things over the years. Jim, back to you. This is all about the commercialization of space. And so, in the early going for Commercial Crew Program, it wasn't something NASA was used to. Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Shuttle. NASA gave the designs and the contractors went out there and built it.
Poi, come sapete, come vi ho detto nel video che è uscito oggi, è dal 2011 che non si lancia più un uomo nello spazio del suolo americano e con una navetta americana.
And the supply, you're limited in what you're able to do. And of course, back when this program was initiated under Charlie Bolden, General Charlie Bolden, astronaut Charlie Bolden,
Considerate che per ogni astronauta la NASA deve pagare a Roscosmos, che è l'agenzia spaziale russa, $80 milioni. Quindi una spesa molto notevole. Quindi probabilmente con SpaceX i costi diminuiranno.
Eventually we need commercial space stations. So what we're using the International Space Station for right now, we're proving that we can compound pharmaceuticals in a way that you cannot do on Earth. We're able to create immunizations in a way you cannot do on Earth. We're printing human organs in 3D. Right now it's just tissue, but eventually we're going to print human organs in 3D using adult stem cells, your skin cells, your own DNA. It's going to transform how we do medicine here on Earth. We're creating advanced materials that you can only create in the microgravity of space, things like an artificial retina for the human eye. So if you have macular degeneration, you don't have to lose your eyesight. Bottom line is this: these markets are the future. And when they materialize, and they are materializing because of the work of NASA, we're going to see capital investment, not just into launch, but also into habitation. And that ultimately is what's going to be transformational for commercial space.
Very good. And Elon, in getting all of that going, the ISS and all the activity that takes place on board, it's key that this Crew Dragon operate on a regular basis. As the chief engineer, what were some of the biggest hurdles you had to overcome to get your spacecraft ready to fly this mission?
Well, the spacecraft and the rocket have gone through literally thousands and thousands of tests and reviews.
Ecco, vediamo che Elon Musk sta dichiarando che SpaceX ha avuto molti test prima di cominciare ad avere successi, tanto che addirittura stava per fallire SpaceX. Per fortuna è arrivato il primo volo di successo con il Falcon 9.
So that means we really have, and I don't want to tempt fate, but a well-proven rocket. And we've flown Crew Dragon to the space station once, successfully brought it back. We've done a tremendous amount of testing on the ground, and when you do the testing on the ground, you always push the limits. So you want to try, you push it way beyond what
Elon Musk sta dichiarando che molti test sono stati fatti a terra.
During testing, to see what the limits are. So this is a result, like I said, of thousands of tests, of thousands of design hours, and a tremendous number of smart people working incredibly hard to make this day happen.
And you've got 2 astronauts on board now. Yes. Do you feel that responsibility?
Yes, absolutely. I felt it, I think, most strongly when I saw their family just before coming here.
Ecco, potete vedere anche che gli astronauti qui sulla gamba hanno appoggiato un tavolo, non riesco bene a capire che dovrebbe essere la lista dei controlli pre-volo.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Jim, you had some words with the astronauts. What was your take on how they were feeling?
I will tell you, Doug Hurley, Marine Corps test pilot, of course, a veteran of multiple space shuttle missions. Bob Behnken, flight test engineer, United States Air Force, again, veteran of multiple space shuttle missions. This is not new to these guys. All I could do is convey to them how much all of America appreciates what they're doing, that the entire world is watching. and just how grateful we are as a nation. And I will tell you, their demeanor is loose. They are ready to go. They were joking around. They were talking about what they had for breakfast and how it might come up later. It was
steak and eggs. Yeah, I
right,
saw that. Yeah.
right. So it was nice to see. They are in their element, and we are just so grateful and proud of them.
Well, that's good to hear. That gives you great confidence, I'm sure, in your positions as you hear that. We're going to go to a social media question, and we've got this question coming from Brooklyn. And she wants to know, I noticed some changes in the crew spacesuits. They look much thinner and lighter. What changes in the space capsule allow to have these futuristic suits?
Well, we spent a lot of time designing the spacesuit. I personally spent a lot of time on the spacesuits. It took us 3, almost 4 years to design suits that both look good and work well. So you can see the spacesuit in the movie looks good, doesn't work. And then you can make a spacesuit that works but doesn't look good. Because fundamentally it's a pressure suit that's got to survive in vacuum.
Right.
So it's so it tends to puff up, when it's under pressure, and it's got to handle all that pressure. So it took us many iterations to get.
Poi Elon Musk sta dicendo che ci sono volute molte iterazioni, molti cambiamenti al design della Crew Dragon, perché all'inizio per fare questo design molto, diciamo, molto fantascientifico, molto aperto.
And I think what today is about is reigniting the dream of space and getting people fired up about the future and excited. It's just one of those things that I think everyone from all walks of life, from all parts of the political spectrum in the United States and elsewhere should be really excited that this is a thing that is made by humans for humans. And it's just a great, exciting, inspiring day, and it's one of those things that makes you.
Ecco, sto anche dicendo che oggi è veramente un giorno speciale, eccitante per SpaceX, dato che è il primo volo con umani a bordo.
Yeah, they're custom tailored, by the way. So I think you won't put in that one, but we could make one that you would put in.
Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, because I'm 6'8", so you're gonna have to do a lot of sewing.
Well, and the Dragon spacecraft can take someone who's 6'8".
My size.
Yes.
This commercial thing, I'm getting excited.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm ready to fly, Jim.
Yeah.
Sir.
We've got another social media question we're going to ask. Ashton J wants to know, how do you think that launching astronauts on American soil for the first time since 2011 will revolutionize future missions?
Yeah, so what we're doing here is unlike anything we've
Ecco, avete visto? Gli operatori di terra sono usciti dalla Crew Dragon e stanno sigillando, hanno sigillato il portello della Crew Dragon.
We did not tell industry what to build. We gave them top-level requirements. We said, here's the requirement for payload. Here's the requirement for safety. And then we let the innovators, commercial industry, American commercial industry, innovate. And they came up with solutions that had never been dreamed of before. And that's the success of this program. So we're really revolutionizing how we do spaceflight. And I really think when we look
Dopo,
into the
non
future,
so se sapete, ma SpaceX, Elon Musk ha deciso che entro per il 2022 sicuramente altri voli con la Crew Dragon, sperando che va tutto bene, altri voli saranno, oltre che con gli astronauti, anche con i turisti che andranno nello spazio, pagando probabilmente un biglietto a delle cifre esorbitanti.
love Tom Cruise to fly to the International Space Station and make a movie. I'm all for that, and we're going to do what we can to make that happen. But you should know this. There was a day when I was in elementary school and I saw the movie Top Gun. And from that day, I knew that I was going to be a Navy pilot. It's just the way it was. The goal here, and this is what we're doing today, and Elon is all about this.
Get the kids fired up about wanting to wear that spacesuit, wanting to fly that, go to orbit, go to the moon, go to Mars, reigniting the dream of space, and just getting people of all walks of life, young, old.
Poi anche Elon Musk ovviamente punta ad colonizzare Marte, ad andare su Marte. Poi poco tempo fa aveva detto di voler costruire delle centrali nucleari Tipo dicessero bombe che facessero sciogliere il ghiaccio marziano, ma dopo questa ovviamente questa idea è stata abbandonata per ovvie ragioni.
This launch is about today. I want to say, speaking of this inspiration piece, it's not by chance that we have the Secretary of Education of the United States of America here. This is all about the next generation. If we have great success in our generation, it's not enough. It has to continue. The challenge with the Apollo program is that it ended. What we're doing now is sustainable, and that's why we have the public-private partnerships and commercial capabilities that are coming online.
Very good. And the good news for Tom Cruise is he does a lot of his own stunts.
Poi Elon Musk stava dichiarando che ovviamente vuole fare voli commerciali.
And as Joe said, it's like this is gonna, you want to capture the public imagination, have them see cool things happening in real orbit, real space stations. It's like, I think I'd want to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, like I said, you think it was like this is really just the beginning, because we want to go from low Earth orbit, we want to go back to the moon, and the moon to stay, have a moon base like Moon Base Alpha, and have build a city on Mars and be a spacefaring civilization out there among the stars. This is a super exciting future that I think that's the kind of thing where you're like, can't wait for it to happen,
If you can't get excited after listening to you guys, I'd say you need to have your pulse checked.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, SpaceX CEO and Chief Engineer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim Bridenstine, we appreciate you leading NASA in this time, Administrator
Ecco,
for the
il
agency.
conduttore di questo botto di risposta, chiamiamolo così in termini molto giornalistici, che ho salutato.
Actually closed, so that happened a few minutes earlier than we expected to. Our timeline has that happening at T-minus an hour and 55 minutes, so a few minutes ahead of schedule right now with hatch close, and you can see the pad teams, they're just working on things now.
Yeah, right now.
Manca un'ora e 15 minuti al lancio. Stanno collegando dei cavi, vedo, stanno collegando dei cavi alla Crew Dragon. Qui potete vedere che ovviamente tutti gli operatori di terra hanno dei tablet con la checklist.
And after that, we will install the, you can see the leak check ground support equipment there in the technician's hands there.
And while we're watching this, Leland, I mean, we just heard them talk a lot about inspiring the next generation. And you're a man of many talents. I know after your flights yourself, you used to head the head of NASA education. I mean, what did that stir up in you?
Marie, what Elon said about reigniting the dream of space is so
potete
important.
vedere
We get our young kids
stavano
thinking about themselves
controllando.
being in these
Adesso
seats.
rivediamo gli astronauti
When I
all'interno.
became an astronaut in 1998, I
Sì.
was riding on the back of a fire truck
Probabilmente,
celebrating John Glenn's
come ho
return
detto
to flight
prima,
on Space
hanno
Shuttle.
un umore molto controverso,
Orange pumpkin suits.
perché
And
magari
when
sono
their dad
felici ma
turned
hanno anche
around
paura.
to look at me on the fire truck, and it was almost as though when they saw my face, they started launching into space with rocket fuel because they were inspired, because they saw someone who looked like them. And I think that if we can reignite this dream through SpaceX's launch, through the partnership with NASA, we can get so many more kids to believe in themselves and know that they can be just like Doug and Bob flying on the SpaceX Dragon.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really just breathtaking to see them there in their suits now and looking at the screens in front of them. Lauren, I know we've talked a lot about the spacecraft. We've heard about that.
Douglas Harley che
For
sta
folks who
sbadigliando
maybe are just
perché
tuning in,
comunque
what are they
lì
looking at in
dentro
front of them now?
bloccati in
So they
determinata
have 3 different
posizione è
screens in front of them.
abbastanza
Overall,
estenuante.
that whole
Rivediamo adesso i controlli della
So
Crew
you'll have those
Dragon.
3 LCD touchscreens in front of them where they have, the displays are showing them details on the vehicle's pressure, its temperature, there's audio control. That center screen has the procedures that they're going through today on day of launch. You can also see the vehicle's attitude, you can see its velocity,
Ecco,
its
gli astronauti sta dicendo la speaker, stanno dicendo che gli astronauti possono vedere l'altitudine, la rotazione, l'angolo di attacco, tutte varie informazioni per controllare al meglio il lavoro del computer di volo della navetta.
button panel that you see down below. And that
Ovviamente io vi ricordo ancora che potete fare qualsiasi genere di domanda.
Manual overrides like that right in the middle, right underneath that center LCD screen. That's the crew's ability to initiate an abort. It's called an abort handle, and it's right in the middle where both crew members could use it if they needed to. And the audio controls are also on those button panels. When they're not in their suits, there's actually speakers that are coming off of the control panel that allow them to hear mission control, hear the core when they're not
Ci
in their
sono
suits.
degli altoparlanti, anche delle cuffie integrate ai caschi degli astronauti per ovviamente
We see them using the
sentire,
touch
comunicare
screens
con il
now.
controllo
Leland, what's your
missione.
take on this? Because this has got to
Vedete,
look
ecco, adesso
totally different from what you
Benken
were looking
sta
at during shuttle.
controllando con lo schermo touch, sta controllando vari pannelli,
these displays and these
controlla
buttons, and
tutti
you know,
i dati
it was
sulla
one of those
navetta.
moments when I'm looking at this now, when I had knee boards that had procedures and things on there, and the procedures are now all run in that middle screen, and the malfunctions and the things that you do to mitigate problems with the vehicle if something happens, it's all controlled right there with the two of them. And so it's a radical departure from what we did with the shuttle, but it's again ushering in this new era of space travel.
For post-ingress brief and a check on how that suit air feels about now.
And we're going to listen now for an announcement about hatch closer.
Ecco, vedete che adesso hanno terminato, la squadra interna ha terminato di sigillare il portello.
For a weather update, the weather line that is overhead, which is what you saw when you were ingressing, is now moving offshore. The next radar return is a cell over Orlando, which is expected to be our decision gate for today, and that is currently eroding.
That's good news. Thank you.
Copy. And then one additional item, the Cabo, the orbit site, remains as briefed, so no change there. But I do want to make you aware that that is slightly west of Cabo for go weather. So you just want to target the longitude if needed.
Okay, Dragon copy, slightly west. We'll target the longitude, and the suit air has cooled off, so we appreciate that as well.
Copy, outstanding. Let us know if you have any
Ecco,
questions.
vedete ancora gli astronauti che sistemano, controllano.
Dragon copy.
So what we actually heard was a little bit more discussion about the weather, still looking at things, and we're about a minute away from an announcement about hatch closure. Excuse me.
Ecco, vediamo ancora gli operatori di terra che stanno controllando, è una panoramica del complesso di lancio e c'è qualche goccia, attenzione, speriamo che non venga una pioggia forte, vediamo l'obiettivo della telecamera.
Dragon SpaceX for comm checks with Falcon 9.
Go ahead.
Vediamo gli astronauti all'interno della capsula.
If you are ready.
We are ready.
All stations up on countdown net for section 54.49. F9 responsible engineer communication check with the crew.
Ecco, stanno dicendo di fare un check delle comunicazioni.
Start with guidance, navigation, and control.
Dragon GNC on countdown 1, comm check.
GNC Dragon, loud and clear.
GNC loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the propulsion engineer.
Dragon, prop on countdown 1, comm check.
Prop Dragon, loud and clear.
Prop, loud and clear. Stand by for comm check with the avionics engineer.
Dragon, avionics on countdown 1, comm check.
Avionics Dragon, we have good loud and clear.
Ok, dicono di controllare l'avionica.
Stand by for comm check with the ground segment engineer. Dragon ground segment on countdown 1, com check.
Ground segment, Dragon, loud and clear.
Ground segment loud and clear. Stand by for com check by launch control.
Dragon, launch control on countdown 1, com check.
Launch control, Dragon, loud and clear.
Launch control loud and clear. Stand by for com check by the chief engineer.
Dragon, chief engineer on countdown 1, com check.
Bala, Dragon has you loud and clear.
Chief engineer, loud and clear. This completes the F9 responsible engineer com checks. Dragon, chief engineer on Dragon to ground.
Go ahead, sir.
I was just doing a com check on this loop. Good luck, guys, and buckle in.
Thanks to you and the F9 team, Bala. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bala.
So we just heard a series of comm checks there, and Lauren, I don't know if you were, and we heard the
Che tra
acronym
pochi
GNC. They said
il
guidance
direttore di bilancio chiederà,
going back to the acronym
verificherà
GNC.
anzi
Can you
il
kind of
carico
explain
del
to folks what that
propellente,
means?
Yeah,
che vi
the
ricordo
launch chief
essere
engineer, Bala, as you heard
kerosene
him
di
again
tipo
towards the end,
aerospaziale.
initiated a comm check with all of the different subsystems that those engineers that are on console and those operators today, and talking with the crew, making sure that they were able to communicate with them bidirectionally, and just handing that check off from all of the different stations on console today. That was really, really cool. We obviously don't do that when there's a satellite on top of the rocket, so this is the first time for a real flight that we've done that operation. Just very awesome.
And now that the hatch is closed, a lot of the work of this team is done. But I mean, they're obviously not finished. They're not ready to leave the white room just yet. You were talking to some folks about what's going on in this room now.
Yeah, that's right. They should be completing the hatch leak check. That's you sort of pressurize that area between, there's two O-rings that are there, and we want to pressurize that area, see if it holds pressure.
Ok, stanno pressurizzando la cabina.
Sensitive test, very high. That leak check is shown to be okay, and that the capsule, or that those O-rings are able to hold pressure.
Siamo a 4 spettatori, vi ricordo che potete fare tutte le domande che volete qui sulla chat,
pressure equalization plug.
che trovate di fianco o sotto cliccando il bottone chat dal vivo. Ecco, vediamo una panoramica della rampa di lancio della Crew Dragon vicino al Falcon 9.
So that you don't cause the hatch to buckle due to a pressure, or sorry, the hatch or the
Gli
capsule
astronauti all'interno che probabilmente saranno in ansia per tutta questa attesa.
plug, and then they'll cover up that side hatch access panel with the TPS panel, or thermal protection system panel, close it up, and that'll make sure it stays safe on ascent.
And now, obviously, we're looking at a view from the outside of the top of Falcon 9 and Crew.
Dragon copies, good lead check.
Bene, siamo a 5 spettatori, potete vedere che gli astronauti stanno controllando tutti la strumentazione. Tra un minuto circa da programma il controllo missione, il controllo di lancio chiederà la verifica del carico del propellente, che vi ricordo ancora che è kerosene di tipo aerospaziale. Perfetto, ecco un'altra immagine da sotto del Falcon 9 con in cima, come potete vedere, la Crew Dragon.
If you're just joining us, you're looking at the Falcon 9 rocket with Crew Dragon sitting on top. Inside that capsule on top are NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. And we are inside of 2 hours until liftoff, if the weather holds up.
Mancano circa 3/4 d'ora al lancio.
There's another stunning aerial view of the crew access arm extended out towards Crew Dragon. That is the final path that the astronauts took to climb aboard Dragon before they strapped into their seats and the hatch closed.
Sembra ci sia vento.
And no doubt Bob and Doug are focused on the mission ahead, but you know, we also heard the administrator and Elon Musk talking about how they've been kind of jovial and joking around, and Leland, you kind of mentioned to me during that segment that that's really important.
It really is.
Ok, vediamo ancora il ponte di attracco della Dragon che è ancora attaccato.
We were all going back to those moments of our training, you know, when we were going through, you know, ascent and entry training on the shuttle and just different phases of flight that we would be going through. And we would think about some of our instructors who got us there. You know, in our crew notebooks, we would have names of people that were very
Manca
impactful in making
un'ora,
sure
47 minuti,
perfect,
35 secondi al lancio.
And that looks
Ecco,
like
ecco, vediamo, adesso vediamo dalle immagini che sta arrivando l'Air Force One con il Presidente degli Stati Uniti.
Launch pad 39A for a special guest to have a special view of the astronauts on the launch pad. President Trump on board, making his way to Kennedy Space Center to hopefully view a launch at 4:33
Il Presidente Trump arriva al Kennedy Space Center. Vedete, lì vediamo in lontananza il capannone di SpaceX e la rampa di lancio, il complesso 39A.
Looking out the window at Bob and Doug on the pad. That's got to be an amazing sight to see from on board Air Force One.
Ecco, vedete l'Air Force One si prepara all'atterraggio, manca un'ora 46 minuti e 26 secondi al lancio.
1 hour, 46 minutes, 22 seconds and counting from launch. And guys, the last time we actually did a little bit of research when we found out that the president was coming. The last president to witness a launch from here at Kennedy Space Center was Bill Clinton. That was back in October 1998 for STS-95. So it's been a minute.
Okay, and we are about 56 seconds away from the... Oh, no, we're not.
Ok, vediamo un'altra visione, cavolo, sta cominciando a piovere, purtroppo ancora non sembra una pioggia intensa dalle immagini che ci arrivano dalla NASA, anzi da SpaceX, scusate, però speriamo bene, ragazzi.
Hey, Lauren, I mean, like you said, things are really ramping up on social media right now, especially seeing that hatch close and also just watching this flyover happen. We are up to 1.7 million viewers across all of our social media channels. And let's check out what people are saying on Twitter right now. So it looks like we've got more creativity still going
on. Vediamo un'altra, diciamo, questo talk show, questo time di domande post trovati sui social online.
We have more just good luck and well wishes for Bob and Doug across the nation. This has been a constant online today, which is so great to see.
Persone, bambini, ragazzi eccitati per questo evento di SpaceX.
Still tuning in for launch. This is awesome. And just looks like more people standing by to witness this historic launch today. And so, guys, on top of what's being said on social media, we've also got a lot of well wishes from everyone across our country showing us what today means in their creative way. So let's take a look at that video.
I am so ready to launch.
Wow, I mean, guys, just look at everybody excited for today's launch. If that doesn't get you pumped, like, come on, let's go. We even got to see astronaut Snoopy in there, which is a personal favorite of mine.
La pioggia sembra peggiorare, però ancora non sembra esserci vento, questa è una grande cosa.
Anyways, guys, get excited. The time is almost here. And with that, let's toss back to Lauren at Kennedy. Lauren.
Thanks, Tahira. Tahira likes the Snoopy. I like the little girl doing the worm, Leland. She wasn't doing the meatball. She was doing the worm.
There's someone out there doing the meatball, I'm sure.
I want to know what that looks like.
No, I don't. I don't. Clearly, this is capturing the attention of people all across the country and the world. So please continue to join the conversation by using the hashtag LaunchAmerica across Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
And we've had the opportunity to share with you a lot about the SpaceX Crew Dragon vehicle the crew is sitting in right now, a lot about the crew themselves and the significance of today as the official return of human launch capability to American shores. And now we want to turn our attention to where the crew is going, the International Space Station. And for that, let's take you to Mission Control in Houston. Gary?
Ecco un altro collegamento dal controllo missione a Houston.
Space Station is an incredible facility whose construction, operation, and ongoing science, all these efforts have been made possible by an unprecedented collaboration. So to tell us more about the space station, we have International Space Station Chief Scientist Kurt Costello with us. Kurt, welcome.
Gary, thank you. It's an amazing day to be here to talk to you about this historic launch to the ISS.
It really is. Now, many viewers may not realize that there is a laboratory that's the size of a football field, 250 miles above the Earth, and that it's been there for nearly 20 years conducting revolutionary science. Can you share with us more about what the space station is and what it's accomplished so far?
Sure, Gary. Over those 20 years, we've conducted over 3,100 experiments on board this space station. Those 3,100 experiments have been done by over 4,100 investigators and represent the work of over 108 regions and countries. The work going on the space station is not only there to help us with our exploration goals for how to go
potete vedere delle immagini della stazione spaziale di esperimenti vari.
Benefits for Earth and to produce a commercial marketplace in low Earth
Questo
orbit.
dovrebbe essere azoto
All
liquido,
three of these
quello che avete appena visto che
objectives,
fumava.
along with the international cooperation that it took to build such an amazing laboratory in space, are great examples.
Vedete gli astronauti da una parte, gli astronauti che stanno attendendo il lancio.
Kurt, we know that today's mission is critical to providing us with a steady cadence of operational flights. But why is it so important for us to have this
Soprattutto
capability
vedete
from a
Douglas
research
Harley
perspective?
sta
That's a great
sbadigliando.
question. Today's test flight brings us to the beginning of the commercial crew program, a commercial crew program which will raise our occupancy on the U.S. segment of the space station to 4 astronauts. And that 4th astronaut comes as a real premium to doing research on the space station. The tasks don't get particularly more intensive to do systems and maintenance, so that 4th astronaut, that time becomes dedicated to performing more science. In fact, enough time that it will essentially double the amount of crew time we have to perform experiments on board station. The return to U.S. soil also brings us the ability to return samples more quickly and get human samples back down to the ground more quickly as well.
Kurt, you're talking about all this great research, you're talking about scientific experiments, but what would you say to someone who's watching this and thinking, this isn't relevant to me, I'm never going to space, I don't do science? What do you say to those people?
Well, again, one of the focuses is on the ISS benefits for humanity. And for all of us who've been stuck at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been wondering, wouldn't it be nice to have more bandwidth? Why does the internet slow down? Some of the research we're doing on board space station, particularly into Z-band optical fiber, is using the fact that we don't have sedimentation in a microgravity environment to develop new materials that'll help us
Adesso questo che sta parlando
perfect fiber optic cables, which will allow better bandwidth.
sta facendo una dichiarazione, una spiegazione sulle cose che si fanno a bordo della stazione spaziale.
And then if you're not really a tech geek,
Vedete ancora gli astronauti che stanno controllando, guardano, si dilettano perché adesso non più praticamente da fare niente, dato che la navicella è tutto completamente automatizzata dal computer.
Pharmaceutical companies are working on methods that allow us to crystallize proteins in space in a more purified and more standardized method. And this could lead to monoclonal antibody suspensions that we can treat through injection instead of a painful infusion. We also are developing studies into our capability to produce tissues and organs in space. Again, because you don't have sedimentation, there's a capability there to produce more realistic tissues that can someday possibly be used to prevent human disease.
Now, Kurt, I know they have some cargo
Vi faccio un attimo una precisazione perché ho fatto veramente una confusione paurosa sui fusi orari. Vi confermo che in realtà il lancio non è alle 21:33, le 21:33 è in orario
if they have the
centrale,
BDAs
ma
on board.
in realtà il lancio
The
qui in
cargo
orario
will be
italiano
doing
sarà
their
alle
own science, and it
22:33,
comes from across
quindi
the
ci
spectrum.
vediamo
We
tra
have
2 orette
student
più o meno.
experiments in seeds
E
that
intanto
will
potete
bring
rimanere
together
qui
with
sulla live, io comunque vi
Crew
rimango qui a
Dragon.
spiegare,
We also
però il
have a
lancio non è
number
alle
of experiments
21:33,
that are
quindi
dependent
decidete
on
voi se
their sample
abbandonare o non
return
abbandonare,
in
fate come
frozen
volete.
lockers on board the SpaceX Dragon to be able to do the science there. Those include rodent research tissues from the National Lab Rodent Research 17 mission, and also our veggie experiments, which are experiments in growing plants in space that will be needed when we go to more distant locations like the Moon and Mars.
International Space Station Chief Scientist Kurt Costello, thank you so much for your time. Let's hear now from one of the next astronauts to fly to station on a Crew Dragon, talking with Marina Jurica. Marina.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be a part of today's momentous launch. My guest is no stranger to the International Space Station and will return there for the first time in nearly a decade for his third space flight with the Crew 1 launch expected later this year. Having logged 177 days in space from flights on the Space Shuttle Discovery to the Soyuz, JAXA astronaut Soichi Noguchi will have spent more time in space than any of his other crewmates. It is my pleasure to welcome him.
Allora vedo delle domande. Allora, il decollo sì, il decollo è confermato, ad ora non si sa, potrebbero esserci ancora variazioni sul tempo peggiora, ma intanto adesso il tempo è confermato. Il decollo, scusate, per i metodi.
Thank you so much for being here with us. I am sure you have felt the excitement for today's launch, Soichi, and you will be on the next Crew Dragon flight after this one. Are you excited to launch from Kennedy Space Center again, and how are you preparing for this new vehicle?
Yes, definitely we are excited to go back to Kennedy Space Center. My first space flight was from Kennedy Space Center on the Space Shuttle Discovery. That was 15 years ago, but my memory is still fresh. I still feel the vibration of the launch, the same launch pad of 39A that the Demo2 go up, and as a Crew 1. And our crew is getting ready for the final training phase, which will come in the coming weeks. And the mood is really high, and we are ready to go up.
And as you know, the International Space Station and space exploration is an international effort. How do you feel representing the Japanese Space Agency once again on the ISS?
Well, I think the strengths of the International Space Station is the diversity of all the participating countries, and adding diversity is definitely gives a rigidity to the program. And the same applies to
vedo un'altra domanda. Allora, la torre di salvataggio non c'è e praticamente l'estinzione avviene, diciamo il sistema di emergenza avviene sparando solo la parte superiore della capsula. Quindi la capsula Crew Dragon è formata da una parte inferiore cilindrica e la parte superiore è leggermente, diciamo, arrotondata, e quella parte arrotondata viene sganciata per poi rientrare con dei motori a parte e salvare gli astronauti.
Keep saying, hey, you gotta visit the space station again because it's getting more comfortable, more roomy, and I cannot wait to go back to my sleep station after 10 years.
And nothing beats that view, does it?
Oh, definitely. My last flight.
Ma scusate per l'inconveniente del cane.
That was a big hit, obviously. This is the number one.
Ecco, stiamo vedendo immagini della Stazione Spaziale Internazionale. Sono dell'astronauta cinese Soichi Noguchi.
In these moments right before a launch, what do you think Robert Behnken and Douglas Hurley are feeling right now as they prepare to head to the ISS?
Well, Doug and Bob's space shuttle veterans, they know the drill. They have launched. They experienced the launch before, so I think they're pretty relaxed. And so far through my training, I learned that most of the steps before the launch is quite similar to what we have in the space shuttle days. So different suit, different vehicle, but all the necessity steps to go up into the capsule should feels similar. So I'm pretty sure they are relaxed. Of course, they are very excited.
Allora, adesso sto facendo delle dichiarazioni di immagini di cosa si fa a bordo della stazione
Thank you
spaziale.
so much, Soichi, for joining us today.
Oh, Marina, you are so good. Domo arigato. And we'll both enjoy the beautiful lunch today. Thank you very much for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck with your launch later this year. And as the
Ecco,
excitement
ecco,
builds towards launch,
l'astronauta
I will send
cinese
it back to
sta
you.
salutando. Bene, torniamo
Thank you,
in
Marina.
collegamento
I
al
now
controllo
have the
missione
distinct
a
pleasure
Houston.
of being joined by one of NASA's record-setting astronauts and a recent resident of the International Space Station, Christina Cook. Christina, thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Dan.
Christina, we're coming up on 20 years of continuous human presence on the space station, and you were one of those humans. What's it like to see a new milestone like this launch unfold after so much history already?
So much history indeed. It is really just such a testament to NASA. Not
Ok,
only
questa
are we
è l'astronauta
pushing the
della
boundaries of
NASA,
knowledge
Christina
and discovery
Koch.
and exploration, but we're pushing the boundaries on how we accomplish that mission. We're bringing in commercial partners. We're fostering a space economy. So we're making sure that we're always pushing forward, always taking that next step. I think it's such a privilege to be part of an organization that recognizes if we're not actually making steps and innovating every single time we do this, then we're not truly answering humanity's call to explore and to push those boundaries.
Christina, I know Bob and Doug are veterans themselves, but what advice do you have for Bob and Doug, given your experience as a long-duration station crew member?
International Space Station and work there is just such a privilege. You know, you're a steward of this amazing laboratory that's bringing so many benefits down to Earth and also learning how we can push farther into the universe. So it is quite an honor, and I think that's the main thing about how it feels to be up there for a long duration. You know, in terms of advice, Bob and Doug have been great mentors for me. They've given me advice for so many years. It's strange to be the one who can be in a position to offer them anything. But I would say that as, you know, shuttle flyers, they used to participate in missions that were really, really intense, go, go, go all the time. Long duration space flight is more of a marathon than a sprint. So I would tell them to take that moment, enjoy it, and, you know, really welcome the opportunity to have part of your mission be taking it all in and sharing that with the people that got you there.
Thanks again, Christina. Always a pleasure to hear from you and fantastic words. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So once again, once Bob and Doug arrive at the station, they'll be greeted by astronaut Chris Cassidy. But before we do that, let's toss to a briefing.
Ok, adesso vediamo una panoramica della rampa di lancio col Falcon 9. Sembra che la pioggia si sia affievolita. Ecco una panoramica laterale dal basso del Falcon 9.
Hello, everyone. I'm astronaut Chris Cassidy, commander of Expedition 63 on board the International Space Station, flying 250 miles above the Earth. Like you, I'm excited about today's launch and the possibilities it will bring to America and to the world. But also, I'm very excited that two close friends will be arriving and joining the crew. I had the privilege of flying with Doug Hurley on both of our first shuttle missions back in 2009. Together, we came to the International Space Station and helped construct the amazing facility that it is today. Although this will be my first mission with Bob, it was my honor to follow him as the chief of the office when he left back in 2015 to begin training for this amazing mission. Personally, I've been very fortunate, launching from America on the shuttle, and most recently launching from Kazakhstan in the Soyuz.
Sì, ciao a tutti, vedo che mi state salutando qui sulla chat.
From the coast of Florida. And finally, here's a story I'd like to share with you.
Mi chiedono le dimensioni sembrano minori, sì, perché il Falcon 9 è alto solo 74 metri contro i 110 dell'Apollo.
Time we flew Americans on a brand new vehicle.
Ecco, adesso stiamo vedendo dalle immagini
They flew an
il
American
lancio
flag representing
del
America's
Space
technical
Shuttle,
prowess.
una storia, diciamo, una review delle missioni spaziali
30 years
americane.
later, that same flag was flown to the International Space Station. This flag remains here today, waiting for Bob and Doug. Our flag means so many things to our country, and this small piece of America represents what we'll be able to achieve together. We'll never stop exploring. And so Bob and Doug can take this very special flag home to Earth.
Potete vedere adesso gli astronauti Bank and Harley.
In a few years, the first Orion crew will take this flag with it around the moon. All of this starts today. I'll be watching outside the window along with everyone else in America and around the world. I can't wait to look out the window and see my friends on close approach. Go Falcon 9, go Dragon, and go Bob and Doug. I'll see you soon.
Ecco adesso l'astronauta, questo astronauta della NASA
Very
sulla
special
stazione
message from
spaziale
astronaut Chris
sta
Cassidy. Right now, the lone
sta
American aboard the
dicendo,
International Space Station, so he will be ready and waiting
sta
to welcome
dando
Bob and Doug
delle
when
indicazioni,
they arrive
dei
tomorrow. If liftoff happens today, a little later tomorrow.
complimenti,
The countdown now
dei buoni
stands at
auguri
T-minus 1
al
hour,
Dragon e
25
agli
minutes,
astronauti.
54 seconds, and counting until launch. And we'd like to share with you just how much has happened here at Kennedy Space Center since the last time we had a crew on the pad launching from here. As you can imagine, the end of the shuttle era was a bittersweet moment for many people across this spaceport. But in the end, we knew we were striving for this day, and here we are. Joining us now is Kennedy Space Center's Deputy Director, Janet Petro, on the comeback we've seen across Florida's Space Coast. She's with Daryl Nail now at OSB-2. Daryl?
Yeah, thank you, Marie. Janet, you were just telling me you were there at the crew walkout. Tell me a little bit about what you saw between the astronauts and their families.
So it was very historic. It was very emotional. So when Doug and Bob first came out of the doors, you know, of course, a cheer went up from everybody. You know, the Vice President was there, Elon was there, the crew families was there, and of course, Bob, myself, and the rest of the center leadership was there to cheer them on. But then, you know, when they came out and then they went to the families and Bob Benkin said, virtual hug, and he shouted out, virtual hug, and he did this motion, and of course his child also did that virtual hug, and so I guess that's the tradition of doing a virtual hug with the families. And then they, you know, then they walked and got in the Tesla, either side, and the family walked right up to the window of the Tesla and were talking, you know, having a private last moment with their father, hand on the window. It was very emotional. I had tears in my eyes. I don't know how many other people had tears in their eyes, but it was really a special, emotional moment, and everybody was, of course, wishing them well. A lot of I love yous, a lot of Godspeeds, a lot of Astra, you know, take care, all that. So it was a very special.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and in the context of why it's so important. Janet, you remember, you've been here since 2007.
Yep.
You were here in 2011 when Shuttle Atlantis came to wheel stop. I've talked to my uncle and father who worked out here. You know, layoff notices went out like the next day when the shuttle came to a stop. It was a very sad time. Bob Cabana, the director here, called it depressing. Tell me about that time and how far we've come.
Yeah, so as you note, it was the end of a very iconic program. You know, a lot of people had spent their entire career working on the Space Shuttle program. So 135 flights, all of them launching from Launch Complex 39, many from 39A, where we're going to be launching from today, and then returning back, you know, at the shuttle landing facility. Those two iconic sonic booms was something that all along the Space Coast people really resonated with, really felt in their hearts and looked forward to. So it was a very sad time. I will tell you that 30-year program, we had planned for it. The workforce was incredible. There was a lot of people who, as I said, spent their entire entire career here, and they wanted to safely fly that shuttle out, and then they retired. There was also another large group of people that just wanted to put on their resume that they had been privileged to work on the space shuttle. So the workforce I was incredibly proud of, because they were resilient, they were dedicated, they were committed to safely flying out that shuttle. They didn't skip any steps, and regardless, as you said, that they knew they were getting their layoff notices. I think it landed on a Wednesday. They were getting their layoff notice on a Friday. They were in it till the end to make sure we safely flew it out. And of course, we had 14,000 workers out here then, which we have a lot fewer here today. And of course, our guest operations, you remember those last shuttle flights, everybody around the country wanted to be a part of that experience. And we at the center really leaned forward to maximize how many people we could get both on site and never mind how many people were lined up at the beaches all along the river to watch that last flight. And of course, today with COVID, unfortunately, we weren't able to have any on-site guest operations, which was pretty sad for this historic flight. But I'll bet that there's a ton of people watching from the beaches or from even their TV as we launch here today.
I'm sure there is, and tribute to your
Ecco,
leadership
della
and Bob
dichiarazione,
Kennedy's as
perché
well,
questa dichiarazione
getting
per il
things
testo
turned
sta
around
dicendo
here
che
as a
molte
multi-user
persone
space
guarderanno,
getting the
stanno
commercial
guardando
entities
questa
in.
diretta
We
della NASA e
appreciate
della
all that you've
SpaceX
done to make that happen. Jen and
che
Petro,
sia dalle
appreciate you being
dalle
here.
spiagge di Cape Canaveral, anche
All right,
sotto la
Marie.
pioggia, sia in diretta appunto sui social, su
And
YouTube.
as NASA and SpaceX have worked for years to get to this moment, today's mission opens the door to an entirely new era in human spaceflight, not only
Ecco,
for
adesso la
astronauts, but
speaker sta
someday
dicendo
for the
che
general public as
questo
well.
lancio aprirà una nuova era nei viaggi spaziali, dato che le Crew Dragon porteranno nello spazio anche astronauti, diciamo non astronauti, dei civili che pagheranno
The
dei
key to
biglietti.
opening up SpaceX, you and me, is reusability. Without it, traveling to space is just far too expensive for the average person to do. Imagine how expensive a flight from LA to New York would be if you had to throw the plane away after a single trip.
A lot.
Yeah, exactly. That ticket would cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and almost no one could ever afford to fly. Both the Dragon spacecraft and the Falcon 9 rocket are designed to be reusable, which not only improves the reliability of the vehicles in that they're flight proven again and again, but it also drives down cost. This is essential to enabling not just a handful of people, but rather
Ecco, manca un'ora e 20 minuti e 08
to get out
secondi al
there and to
lancio.
explore the moon, Mars, beyond. And I, for one, it is my dream to visit Jupiter's ocean moon, Europa. Leland, you're one of the lucky Earthlings that's had the opportunity to get off the planet and go explore. Where would you like to go next?
You know, Lauren, I think I would like to go to Mars and, be there for, about a year each way and then a year on the Martian surface. But the one condition I would have to have, my pups would have to go with me.
Ecco, vediamo la torre di lancio ancora collegata alla Crew Dragon.
People that you get to know and
Non si hanno notizie ancora che il presidente Trump.
And I think that's something that we're going to be seeing in the future, people living and working on other planets as a family.
I think there are a lot of people who want to see your dogs with you in space.
Well, we've seen them in an official portrait. I know that the dogs came in with you to take a picture in your spacesuit back in the day.
Yeah,
there it is.
Well, we kind of snuck them in, no dogs allowed at NASA.
Well, they had their moment.
They sure did.
And knowing that the opportunity to fly to space as a private citizen or a private dog maybe one day is right around the corner, we have a new poll question on Twitter for you. So if you were given the opportunity, would you travel to space? Let us know, and we'll share the results a little bit later.
All stations come
All right, well, there is not a lot of cargo.
Chief Engineer technical poll for launch escape arming and propellant load.
All right, now while there's not a lot of cargo in today's mission, Dragon is carrying 2 special payloads, aside from Bob and Doug, of course. The first is a series of custom art pieces entitled Humankind by Los Angeles artist Tristan Eaton. These indestructible, double-sided paintings are made from gold, brass, and aluminum, and they celebrate how far humanity has come, as well as how far we still have to go. It includes a beautiful homage to the Saturn V rocket, as well as a nod to Bob and Doug's current ride to space. You can find more images and information about these pieces on SpaceX's social channels. Next, in the spirit of inspiring the next generation of explorers, we wanted to celebrate the class of 2020, from kindergarten all the way through graduate school. SpaceX and NASA invited students from around the world to submit their photo to fly on America's first human spaceflight in nearly a decade. Each graduate's photo was used to create a mosaic image of the planet Earth, which we printed and is being flown aboard Bob and Doug's flight on the Crew Dragon spacecraft. We received nearly 100,000 photos. So thank you and congratulations to all the world's graduates.
I am so proud of what we're doing today. And I think about regular people flying in space on a SpaceX rocket one day. When I first went to space, I thought my primary task of installing the Columbus laboratory would be my aha moment, but it was when Peggy Whitson invited us over to the Russian segment to have a meal. She said, "You guys bring the rehydrated vegetables, we'll have the meat." And we're doing this, having this meal, and it's with African American, Asian American, French, German, Russian, the first female commander breaking bread at 17,500 miles an hour, going around the planet every 90 minutes. And when I think of that perspective shift that I got looking out the window, flying over my hometown, flying over Leo's hometown in Paris, flying over Yuri's hometown in Russia, it brought us all together as a civilization. And I think that's what spaceflight does for us. The more people that have the opportunity to go to space will feel like it's an international family of people working together for the good of humanity and all humankind.
Absolutely, and it's exactly what that piece of art was all about.
Yeah. And following today's mission, we will be one step closer to a future where we can all have that experience. We can all have that orbital perspective and the ability to explore new worlds. In just over an hour from now, Bob and Doug will be the first people to launch on an American vehicle in almost a decade. For the team at SpaceX, it's really hard to put into words how honored we feel about the trust that Bob, Doug, and NASA have put into our team to carry out this critical mission. I worked on Crew Dragon for 2 years, and I can just imagine what all of my friends and colleagues are thinking right now as they sit in anticipation and excitement for what's to come.
Absolutely. And speaking of those who have carried the hopes and dreams of science and exploration, we have a few shout outs to share with you from some big fans of NASA and SpaceX.
Wow, we're making history again. The NASA program. I am there with you guys in spirit. Bob, Doug, good luck. I know you'll be fine. I'll be watching and got everything. I'm tied in a knot. Can't wait for you to get back safely.
This is the first time a U.S.-built rocket has taken people into space in 9 years. It's quite an accomplishment. So for us at the Planetary Society, more rockets means more exploration. More people in space means more exploration. More countries involved in the endeavor of spaceflight means more exploration. This is how we know the cosmos and our place within it. So congratulations, SpaceX. Here's wishing your team, and the crew especially, a safe journey and the joy of discovery. Let's go.
And a big thanks to William Shatner and Bill Nye for those well wishes. And while we're keeping an eye on the pad, we want to bring in NASA astronaut Rex Wall.